Welcome to the Joy of Coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode, what is this, 366? What episode is this? 366 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be live hacking on some Firefox stuff today, same as usual. I'm so excited to have you here with me while we dig into some interesting bugs and some hacking. Let's get right to it. I'll start by sharing my screen and starting the stream like I normally do by saying, hey, it's May 15th, 2024, episode 366. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know how the stream is going to go, but I could be wrong. You know, I kind of have a plan of what I want to try and do, but we might get sidelined. We might get rat-holed. We might get, stuck waiting for a build to complete. All sorts of things might occur, and that's okay. We're just going to deal with it as they come. Let's not worry about it. You're going to watch me just deal with it in real time. This is what I like to say is cable access production value. No edits. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the agenda that we're looking at is available to you. If you want to click on links and follow along and, explore what some of these things mean, you can get a copy of this agenda. It's in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube or Dio.zone. It's over in the details section if you're over on Air Mozilla, and it's down in the channel description, I think, if you're on Twitch. And as I update the agenda, you'll see this little spinny spin, and if you reload the agenda, it should render the updates after you reload. Right, so what do I want to talk about today? Well, I wanted to briefly remind you that there is no episode next week or the week after due to travel. I'm getting a little bit of R&R. I'm going to have some vacation, and I'll be back on June 5th, and I will have an episode then. So no episode, you'll have to wait for episodes 367 and 68 until June 5th, starting June 5th. That's the first thing. The second thing, I want to talk about the weather. What's the weather like? I'm in Toronto. What's the weather like? Well, I think it's 18 degrees and partly cloudy in Toronto. It's actually mostly cloudy. What is this? Hello. This is something new. So I wanted to highlight this because I thought it was kind of neat. And you're getting a sneak peek of something that we were going to mention inside of the nightly blog, but I thought I'd give you a sneak peek, you viewers of this stream. Which is, hey, the NewTab team has been really focused on adding new interesting things to NewTab. We've got our cool backgrounds, and now we have this thing called a weather widget, which you can disable if you don't want it. You don't have to have it here. You can get rid of it. But if you want it, you can have it be there. It will figure out your region based on, it'll, I think, attempt to do a geolocation on your IP address. I'm not entirely certain. It might also do a local geolocation lookup. I don't know how it works. I think it uses the same region selection mechanism that our search service uses, but I can't be certain. And then it will render a weather report, and you can have it show up in sort of a simple view. I think this is the default, is a more compressed, simplified view. You can have it show in Fahrenheit. I have mine in the detailed view and in Celsius because I'm Canadian and I like details. Now, how do you get this? If you want this, how do you turn it on? Well, good news, everyone. I know how to do that. And that involves going to About Config and type in Show Weather. And you're going to see two things show up inside of About Config. And if you set those to true, it should show up on your next new tab open. Now, it might not immediately show data right away. I think there's a bug where... you might have to turn it off and turn it back on. You might need to go over here and flip this off and flip it back on in order for it to work properly. But if that's a known bug, and if it isn't fixed already, it'll be fixed soon. But I thought that was kind of neat, and I thought I'd mention it because some people like to know about the weather. All right, so that's the weather. Updates about the jump list. So since the last stream, there's been some activity in jump list land. So, I don't normally work on jump list outside of the stream, to be completely clear. I've been trying to only do jump list stuff during the stream. That means I do about an hour and a half every week, and we kind of crawl forward. And that way you get to see the whole life cycle. But we found an issue. So we posted a patch last week, I think it was May 8th, where I was getting a patch put up to did I link to it? I think it was the e-access error e-access denied error becoming more resilient for that. I think I mentioned this last week, and I got a review back from a couple of people. I got one from Ray, and I got one from Arai, who's like one of our JS experts. And we're like, hey, the way that your API, just the populate jump list API, is dealing with JavaScript arrays, because we were accepting arrays of JS values, and Arai is like, hey, that array is not rooted, meaning that in theory it could garbage collect, and it might not be the safest way of designing an API between JavaScript and C++. And so what we should probably do is, instead of accepting an array of JS values, accept a JS value which might be an array of other values. Because a JS value can be like anything from JS land, including JS arrays. And then we can create, in our tests here, create JS arrays and add things to them. So that's what I did. And that ended up happening earlier on in this patch series, 189.6147. And I tried to get that in before the most recent merge to beta. So this went to beta. This made it before the uplift. And I'm currently writing nightly 128, but these fixes should be in 127. So that means that I think there were some people who were not seeing the jump list show up if they had configured Windows to not show recent visits in the search menu, and that should be fixed starting in 127. So that's good. And that'll also have the URL truncation issue that Crushed Optimist brought my attention to. That's also in beta. So Crushed Optimist, I'm very curious whenever you are, I don't know what channel you're on, if you're on release or beta or nightly, if you're still experiencing the issue that you saw. And if so, we can keep looking. If you're watching this. I'm not sure if you're watching this, Crushed Optimist. Swarthy says, whether you like the weather or not. Yeah. This doesn't allow you to control the weather. It just shows you what the weather is. So it's a little bit I guess that's a feature request. If you want to be able to control the weather, we can accept that enhancement request. It was probably a P5. And there'll probably be a lot of research required. All right. Let's keep going here. So that all got fixed, and I rushed it. I didn't rush it out, but I didn't do it during the stream because I really wanted to get this stuff in before the uplift. And so it's done now. That's closed out. Now, the other thing that we were working on jump list wise isn't closed out, and that is the off main thread jump list, like the favicon caching mechanism. That's what we've been working on for like a month or so now, and that was waiting on from some reviews, and those reviews have finally come in. So let me actually open up the stack of patches. 1 second here. Okay, so here we go. We've got 3 patches, and they're all R+. So we can. I should answer Mossip's question here, that there's an expiry, and we should look into that, whether or not there's an expiry on the cache, which I think there is, but we should double check and answer his question. Crushed Optimist says, the nightly is okay, the issue is on the release profile. Any chance of it getting a point release this month? Unlikely. I don't think my patches would likely make it to a dot release to release, but the good news is that 127, if we look at what train is it now, 127 will ship to release on June 11th. So that's less than a month away. So if you're willing to wait just a few more weeks, those fixes will go out in 3.5 weeks. Or you could try the beta channel. But yeah, I somehow, I don't think my patches meet the criteria for a beta uplift. Or sorry, a release, dot release ride along. I mean, maybe they would, but I'll talk to Relman, but I suspect it won't cross the threshold. Okay. So yeah, let's figure out how to answer these questions. I also rebased these patches, and now I'm doing a build, and hopefully this build does not take too long. I'm really worried that that this build is going to take forever and be a real problem. But I'm noticing it's skipping a lot of things. So my hope is that a bunch of stuff doesn't actually need to be rebuilt, and that we're hitting either the C cache a lot for both Rust and C++, and also that I had a prior build sitting around that and built artifacts, so some of those might be being reused. But we'll see. We'll see. It's building dock shell now, so we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, we can start looking into this stuff. So first of all, is there anything that I need to close out inside of this review? I don't think so. I see 3 unsubmitted comments. I think I can submit those. And then over here, this was I added some logging, so that's done. So we can mark that as done. And then we just need to answer Mossip's question here, where he's just making sure that the cache finds some way of expiring on its own. And I actually can't remember when the cache expires, but now we can look into it. So let's look into it. So the WinUtils stuff. This is where the cache is managed. Cache. And there's like a get cache. There's this async delete all favicons from disk. Which occurs when? Oh, anytime the jump list is populated, we destroy the cache. That's interesting. I think I remember Molly telling me about this. Favicon delete bug async favicon delete. What is it? Async delete all favicons from disk. I seem to recall there being something about this. Let's see what Bugzilla says. Meanwhile, all right, our build is going through the big heavy stuff. It's building DOM. That always takes the longest. Ah, this is the one I was thinking of. Make jump list builders smarter about clearing old favicons from the disk. Every time we repopulate the jump list, we run an async job to clear the favicons from the disk before potentially repopulating them. This could probably be smarter because these icons are not super likely to change over time. Despite the name doesn't always delete all favicons, it takes an optional Boolean argument for whether or not recently modified favicons should be skipped when clearing. Oh. So that's maybe what the true is. Ignore recent. Ignore recent. And wait, where does this runnable run? Async delete. Delete all favicons. What thread does that run on? Populate. So in the populate, in the new one, we dispatch it to the IO thread. Okay, so the IO thread will do it. So we can, I think, answer Mossip's question here. Is there some expiry going to happen for this cache? Yes. Yes. For the jump list icons, every time the jump list is refreshed, currently happens around every 5 minutes. we clear out any expired favicons. And now what was the other nuance in here? It looks like we clear out favicons that are over 24 hours plus 10 minutes old. Where expired seems to mean 24 hours plus 10 minutes old for some reason. Since last modified. It looks like we won't update a favicon until it's at least 24 hours old. We also won't refresh any cached favicons until the local cache file is 24 hours old. Is at least 24 hours since last modified. Is this not gonna? Not really. It's fairly simple. That's kind of nice. Don't want to accidentally make things more complicated. That's so much unnecessary disk output happening. Yeah. Okay. So I think that answers Mossip's question. So I think we're good to go here. We're actually good to land these, but I want to make sure that this build is done, and that we rerun the tests, make sure everything's hunky dory, and then we'll land it. Maybe we'll push up our rebase, because like when was the last time this was updated? May 9th, so about a week ago, last Thursday. So I'll push up the rebase patches and then land it. But that involves waiting for this build to be done. So in the meantime, I thought we could work on something else. Leftmost Cat, hello. The thing I wanted to work on, now that Thunderbird is no longer using the jump list, I would thought we could plan out how to remove the old jump list backend. I think it's about time. Now that we seem to have fixed the bugs, or the known bugs, maybe we can just get rid of that old backend. So let's plan out how to do that. Now, I think there's an existing bug. Jump list. By default, remove the legacy Windows jump list backend. So this is some of the questions from a month ago. I suspect these have been fixed. So missing options in taskbar. Like, I think this is a person who had configured Windows to not show items in like recent history, and we will have fixed that. So I'm going to and yeah, Eddie Lee concurs. So now that that's closed, I think we can really we can consider moving forward with this. And how would we do it? How do you remove a component like this? Now the good news is that I think when we designed the new jump list backend, we really did I think we did an okay job of making it so that it's fairly isolated, not too wrapped up in other components. Like it's been, there's a switching mechanism that allows us to switch it on and off, but when it's even in this configuration, it's not got like deep tendrils into other components. It's fairly isolated with like that one entry point. So that should allow us to switch it off pretty easily, or get rid of it rather, really easily. So the way I tend to like to do these things, let's put together a plan. Let's actually create a new note. Game plan. Here's the game plan. I like to start by getting rid of the tests. You get rid of the tests because, well, you don't need them anymore. The thing that you're testing, get rid of the tests that specifically test the old legacy backend. We're not going to need those anymore. Then let's get rid of, and that can be like one patch. I like to kind of break it up. Makes it easier for people to review. And then we're going to get rid of, let's see here. We renamed it like legacy jump list. There aren't too many entry points. There is usage inside of Win taskbar. So we're going to get rid of, I think, the point where Win taskbar invokes legacy jump list builder. Like this whole thing, create legacy jump list builder. Get rid of create legacy jump list builder on Win taskbar. Even before that, get rid of Windows jump lists.sys.mjs support for the legacy backend. Then get rid of create legacy jump list backend builder. Create legacy jump list builder on NSI Win taskbar. And then I think it's just a matter of getting rid of the legacy jump list builder item. That's one of the things that's only used inside of it's only used internally. Then there's builder. Builder. That's only used internally and in Win taskbar, and we'll get rid of that one. We have to get rid of these registrations inside of components.conf. List item, builder. I think that's all of it. So, and then get rid of the legacy jump list things inside of widget windows along with the components.conf registrations. And that should do it. That should do it. That's my plan. So how do we do that? Well, we can't actually... This machine, this Windows machine is actually... We're stuck. We're going to have to eyeball this one, I think. Because I'm going to do this on my Mac OS machine. I'm going to check out Central, and we're going to do it here on my Mac OS machine. And, obviously, I'll want to bring these patches over onto the other, onto my Windows machine whenever they're done. So these will be work in progress patches. But I figure we can do them here while we wait for that build to complete. So we'll start with the first part of the plan, which is we need to get rid of the jump list, Windows jump list support. Oh, and as well as the prefs experimental feature flag. Okay, so that means let's start with feature manifest jump list. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of legacy backend. We're going to get rid of legacy backend. Legacy list building. So we're going to get rid of build list legacy. So let's find the main entry point here. If use legacy backend. So we'll start with this. This will never be true. So we'll get rid of that. Use legacy. Well, this will never be true. What else? Use legacy backend. So. Okay. Now, because we're no longer using the legacy backend, I think there are certain things in here that are no longer necessary, certain functions, like build list legacy. Is there the term legacy? I think we can start getting rid of this. Build list legacy. Commit build. I don't think anything's using commit build anymore. Build frequent was build recent. Build frequent. No one's using that. We don't do any of this anymore. Build recent. Delete active jump list. I think we can just make that's always going to be true. Build tasks. Don't need that anymore. Build custom. Don't need it. All of it, just burn it down. Commit build, don't need it. Start build, don't need it. Has pending statements, don't need it. What pending statements? Don't need it. List type. Don't need it. Don't you go. Just burn it down. Is there anything else that we can get rid of? Let's work our way up from the bottom. This is all the timer stuff and when to run updates. That's fine. Create jump list builder. Okay, that's all fine. Refresh prefs. That's fine. I think we're good. Built PB, yeah, shutting down. If not, shutting down. Okay, yeah. Makes sense. I think that's it. I think that's it. I think some of these preferences are no longer used. Frequent enabled, recent enabled, max list item count, tasks enabled. Oh, okay, we won't keep them. Okay, well that's that. So that took care of prefs, the experimental feature flag, and the jump list support. So that's going to be our first patch. Yeah, I don't see your amazing emotes. I see Airy NGO Fire. Can someone summarize what that cool emote means, please? Bugs, such and such. Remove support legacy jump list builder support. Builder support from Windows jump lists.sys.mjs. It's a smiling Jigglypuff with flames behind it. Burn it all down. Oh, good. Yeah. Burn it. Yeah. Let her rip. Come on. Come on, Dom. I was not expecting that build to actually need to occur. So that's one of those things. That's one of those live streaming things and no plan survives breakfast things. So that's done. Next, let's get rid of the tests that specifically test the legacy backend. So I believe there are a few of these. Tests unit, test taskbar, legacy jump list items. I think that's it. It's just the one. So we're going to just get rid of that. Widget, Windows, tests, unit. Oh, widget tests unit. Test, taskbar, legacy, jump list items. And we're also going to get rid of this entry in here. And then we can commit that. Remove legacy jump list builder unit tests. And now we'll get rid of the usage of create legacy jump list builder because nothing should be using it now. There was only one thing using it besides that test, and that was jumplist.sys.mjs. And we just removed that usage, so we can go ahead and get rid of that now. So NSI win taskbar, create legacy, boop, get out of here. We're done. Okay. And that means we can go over to win taskbar, CPP, create legacy jump list builder. Don't need that. I think it also means we don't need this anymore. Okay, and then legacy jump list builder.h and NSI legacy jump list builder, don't need that. And we're done there. So we can commit that. Axe usage in win taskbar. All right, and then the last part, which is to get rid of all the legacy stuff, all the C++. So get rid of the legacy jump list things. So what are the things that start with legacy jump list? There are these interfaces. There are these files. We already got rid of this test. Let's start by getting rid of the interfaces. Widget. NSI legacy jump list builder. Goodbye. Good night, sweet prince. There's a lot of history there to wipe out. Jump list item. See you later. And then there's some entries inside of the Moz.build that we'll need to get rid of. Legacy. Okay. And then we can get rid of the implementation. That's these. So HGRM, widget, Windows, legacy, jump list, star, really. Get rid of it all. And then the registration. Inside of components.conf, and I think there's probably something in a widget build somewhere, or a moz.build that I'll need to reference. Widget, Windows, moz.build, legacy. Yeah, I have to get rid of that and that. And then code, legacy, jump list builder, jump list item, jump list separator, jump list link. These are all these things that were in jump list item we can get rid of. See you later. And that should do it. Let's just hgrep legacy under widget. See if I missed any. Oh, sorry. Legacy jump list. Still cooking. Two things. Oh, okay. So I have to actually update the prior commit. I missed some things. So I can go ahead and remove legacy jump list builder backend interfaces and backend. It's a happy day. I'm very happy I finally got to do that. I mean, it hasn't landed yet. Hasn't been reviewed yet. Hasn't even been compiled yet. But it feels good to just get rid of code. Legacy. See. Jump list builder. More information. Were there any other usages of NSI legacy or legacy jump list builder that I should know about? All of these got removed. These got removed. Removed. That's all been updated. This, I think, will be updated automatically. This is modify. Yeah, exactly. That'll get compiled. That'll get built at compile time. Oh. I guess, yeah, there's some more things. Okay. We're going to get rid of some CI stuff. Valid CI uses. These interfaces, they may not be present on all platforms. Legacy jump. Okay. And then MS-COM and NIT. What's that for? Oh, for linting. Department region. No uses. All right. Anything else? Taskbar.idl got updated. NSWidget CID. This needs to be updated. Okay. So hold on. Let's commit this last chunk. Remove legacy jump list builder references in linting tools. I guess I'll ask Mark for review of that. So in the prior patch, I'm going to get rid of these references. Legacy jump list builder, jump list item, separator, link, shortcut. All right, what else? Components.conf got updated, models.build got updated. That test got removed. These are generated things, so we don't need them. Oh wow, I didn't realize this. We generate Rust stuff from our XPCOM interfaces. Like okay. This is all generated stuff. We don't need to worry about it. So I think that's it. I think we got it all. HG next. Yeah, all that's automated. Correct. So I think that's all of it. How's our build going? Still inside of DOM. Holy smokes. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go moz fab submit whip. And then I want to push these to try. Let's see what happens. Okay, well, while that's cooking, we can figure out what we're going to do next, because that might more or less end our jump list journey. Like, that feels like a decent bookend to our whole journey with the jump list. I can't even remember how we got here. I think it was like a bug from 2 years ago that someone mentioned. And I was like, oh, we should move this thing off of the main thread. And we did. Okay, so what can we work on in the meantime? So we can check that off. Let's go back to the agenda. Worked on removing the legacy backend, so I can put a link to that bug here. Well, I can maybe talk a little bit about, now I have a, can you smell what the rock is cooking? People's eyebrow, ready? There you go. Can you smell what the build is building? It's Dom. It's Dom. I think what I'm going to do after I post this to try is I might talk a little bit about another project that has been taking a lot of my time, and we might keep working on it a little bit. But I want to, before I do that, I'm going to push these up. Also, I should check and make sure that there's no patches that require review. Oh, yeah, there's some patches that we can review. That'd be a good idea. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have some patches that we can review. Let me move these over to here, and we can look at those next. So, what is this? Remove interactive test as it causes accessibility check to fail. This is a preferences test. Hello, Javier. Could you please look at this? Let's start once you change set land on Autoland. I found the culprit. The test is interactive with a menuless Zool element which lacks an ARIA label by attribute. I have no experience with that, but I'm trying to provide a fix for it. Remove interactive test as it causes. So instead, we're going to remove the test. In order to check this fixes the bug, launching TriServer with enable A11Y checks is required. I lack TriServer push permissions I lost a long time ago because of an activity. Could reviewer please perform the push? From what I've seen, Fabricator doesn't support A11 checks automatically. The remove test wasn't strictly needed. It was just kind of, just in case, let's test also for this too. Available languages. But it's failing because interactive elements must be labeled ID available languages, and it's not labeled. Should it be labeled? Let's take a look at the, oh, so these have finished being submitted to Fabricator. I'm going to mock, try, fuzzy, no artifact. I'm going to get this to build, do an opt build on, opt and debug build on Windows. Out in the wild. WorkZerg 2.1.2. Okay. Apparently that's a package that we needed. WorkZerg. Installing collected. But what is that? WorkZerg. It's a WSGI, Wasigi Web Application Library. Remind me what that is again. Web Server Gateway Interface. Oh, I see. It's like how your Apache server will talk to your application. Okay. What do I want to do here? I just want to build on Win64 opt and debug, and then build Win32 opt debug. Let's do that. Okay. So this available languages thing, what is it? Well, I think it is in the languages subdialog in here. Languages. Apparently this item is not labeled. And should it be? We have to choose the subframe. Menu list. Data Elton ID. Atchers placeholder. Label. Select a language to add. And it's saying that it requires ARIA labeled by. Do we have any other menu lists that have ARIA labeled by? Where am I? Menu list. Yeah, we've got one here. Menu list. Actions menu. Search engine default header. So inside of preferences, we'll like use this header. So is there a header that makes sense to default engine? Default engine search. All right, described by. So that's described by that. So what should describe this? Default search engine, web page language settings, web pages, choose languages. I think this is actually, wait, and why? It's a tier 2 test. Okay. I think this is actually sidestepping a real issue, which is that the menu list lacks the ARIA described by attribute, which it should probably have. So what does that mean? Like if I am using the accessibility inspector and I look at this, I can see that it's labeled by default search engine, but if I'm over here and I inspect, whoops, I have to choose the right frame. Combo box. The combo box. You almost want it to be described by the first item. Menu item. Or rather, you want to be described by its own label. But we don't do that. Label, Google. So yeah, I'm not comfortable just skipping this chunk of the test, which just makes sure that the The add button is disabled after clicking on the available. We should probably have I'm going to ask Anna Yeti. For situations like this, where we have a Zool menu list in this context, I'll take a screenshot. Select a language to add. It's the select a language to add menu list. What's the right move for making these A11Y tests pass? Presumably it's to add an ARIA attribute here. But the best thing that I think labels the meaning of the combo box is a label of the first item. Select a language to add. Any suggestions? Okay, submit. Then you kind of have to do this thing to make sure that, oh yeah, that image is properly attached. So I'm going to also double check. What I'm going to do is I'm going to request Adina info a Yeti offline half days right now. Okay, and need infoing a Yeti for and then this. Okay, so that's done. Build's finally done DOM and now it's in graphics. Okay. How about the try build? I think the try build went out. Is it there? Yeah, it's doing a decision. It's trying to figure out what to build. And then hopefully it'll start building it. What's another thing I want to review? So that was the first thing to review. This is another one. Throw an NS error file too big if the favicon data size is over the max favicon buffer size. What is this? An assertion failure when fuzzing. Found by visiting a live website with the debug build. Daisuke, so we just aren't handling a massive favicon. The reason of the crash was as that the size of favicon in reported websites was over the favicon buffer size. The payloads were cleared, so we needed to do something similar and set a favicon for page. Two approaches that came up with the fix to do the same thing for set favicon for page. The original code, related code, the payloads are empty. Return just NSOK. Return NS error file too big so that we know what actually happens. I'm choosing approach 2. I think the approach, I agree with Mac here. I think the approach is fine. And so let's take a look at migration here. So this is inside of, whoa, where are we here? What just happened? Why did it, well, that's a weird looking view. I wanted it to kind of like expand up. There we go. So this is inside the part of the migration mechanism, the part that reads in. Yeah, hello, MDAS. Yes, this is a bunch of people just gathered around my desk watching me tool around. I don't mind it. Sometimes people find bugs in what I'm writing, and that's helpful. So in this case, this is the part that reads in favicons from other browsers and inserts them into our own favicon database. And what he's doing is he's moving the catch to down here. I see. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And I think that's all he needed me to review was that change. So for the migration utils change makes sense. Thanks. Submit. Why do we have a favicon DB? Great question. So these favicons up here that you see. So what's a favicon? You know, every time you go to a website, or not every time, but most websites you go to, like if I go to mozilla.org, there's a little icon that shows up in the corner. That's the favicon. I think it's originally fav is for favorite, because that's what you used to call like bookmarks, and it was a way of, it's like this organic standard that developed where a website could have a special icon file somewhere in its directory structure. Like at the root of mozilla.org, there's probably something called favicon.ico. Yeah, there it is. And that's like, web browsers know to map favicons to certain sites based on clues like that. I think you can also use like meta tags inside of the HTML to indicate what your favicon should be. And you can update the favicon with script and stuff. But you don't always want to request those things over the network. You don't always want to like be online downloading. You don't want to have to download these images every time you're like, you're showing the list of bookmarks. And so what we do is when you visit a web page for the first time and we've never seen the favicon before, we take it and we copy it into a database. It's like a local cache of the favicons. And we like scale them to different sizes. Because oftentimes the favicons that you'll, like if we go to, let's go to facebook.com and look for their favicon.ico. That's not exactly what I was looking for. If we go to facebook.com and look at, oh, what? Look at their look at this view source. Brrr, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Somewhere in here there should be a OG image. I'm looking for a favicon. Icon. Rel equals icon. This is how you indicate what your favicon is. Oh, okay, so it's the same one. I was looking for the higher quality one, or a higher dimension one, because some websites, let's find a good example. There's one. That's a nice big favicon there. That's way bigger than what's appearing over here. And what happens is when we see a favicon, we will throw it in the database, but we'll also like process it and create multiple copies, like so that we have different copies at different scales. That's not true if we scale them up. Like we will use, hang on, how do I phrase this? We create multiple copies at lower scales so that for contexts like this where you're showing it, I think it's technically this is supposed to be like a 16 by 16 icon, even though I'm on a Retina display and so it's actually denser than that. These are 16 by 16 favicons. We retrieve the 16 by 16 variant of the favicon from the database and display them there. And if there are ever contexts where the favicons need to be bigger, like over here, these favicons, these are higher quality versions of the favicons. They'll render at the larger resolution, so they don't look all pixelated. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, so that's why we have the favicon database. It's like a local cache of all the favicons. Whenever you import from another browser, I think it was like a year and a half ago, the migration wizard in Firefox, when you'd bring in like bookmarks and history and stuff, you'd get all of the bookmarks and history from the other browsers, but none of the favicons would come over. And so your browser would look pretty horrific. Like you just see the sort of the default favicon all over the place. The default favicon is this globe. What is it? Default favicon. It's where's the preview? Show me the preview. Or even better, I can like load it myself. It's this thing. Can you see? It's so dark. I'm in dark mode. Hang on. Force light mode. There. That's what that's the default favicon. And just everything would have that favicon icon. And it was like, if you're trying to migrate people over from other browsers, you want to make them feel as comfortable as possible, because you're probably at the point where they just switched and you want to get out of their way and make their browser feel useful to them immediately. And so if everything is like kind of looking broken with their favicons looking like this, that's not a great experience. Now those will update when people eventually visit those websites. We'll go ahead and update all the favicons after you visited them, and then slowly over time those globes would go away. But it wasn't a great initial experience, and so I worked with some students in 2023 to migrate the favicons from other browsers into Firefox. So that was interesting. And what else did I want to mention? The reason why we don't just hit the network, because that's an option. You could just like, instead of showing the default favicon, you could just like hit the network and download all these favicons. The problem with that is that, first of all, that's a lot of network requests after import. But second of all, we want to prevent people from making accidental network requests. We don't want them to like import from another browser and then open up a bunch of network traffic to sites that maybe they don't mean to. Maybe they are importing from another browser, and that browser has favicons from domains that like you could get in trouble for if you happen to open a network request accidentally to. Say you're in a particular country where accessing certain domains may put you on like a watch list for the federal authorities or something. We don't want that to happen accidentally. We don't want you to import from a bunch of favicons and suddenly you're like super in trouble, or like you're in a really sticky position. So that's the trade-off. Anyways. Okay, let's see where we're at. This build is now building the JavaScript engine. I think I've gone ahead and reviewed that. I think there was one more thing I wanted to review, which was this patch. Oh, by MDAS. Good seeing you. Make FeatureGate, features to try page, use the same Jexel filtering as Nimbus. Ooh. It doesn't really make sense to have an additional way of specifying. So what Heise is working on is this part of About Preferences, the Experiments tab here, where it's possible for us to like populate this with a bunch of different experiments that people can opt into. I think what we're working on is trying to make it so that it's not just in nightly, but release people will also have access to some experiments. And it sounds like we have this issue where it doesn't make sense to have an additional way of specifying whether a feature, experiment, or toggle, or whatever, is available on a given build specific to features.toml and the FeatureGate code. Excuse me. When this was built, it relied on the if-def mechanisms that we use for JS C++ as part of the browser. There doesn't seem to be a reason not to switch this over to the Jexel-based checks we use for Nimbus. So Jexel is interesting because it's like, it's not just like static check of like on Windows 10, 32-bit. That's not a good example. Like on Windows 10, on the beta channel or something. Those are static checks that we can do. Jexel is more like profile is over 30 days old. Has created at least 5 bookmarks. Like you can be a lot more expressive with a Jexel. It's like a little language for matching things. If you're curious about what Jexel looks like, JavaScript expression language. So powerful context-based expression parser and evaluator. So you can say, like, does a thing match this expression? Does a thing match this expression? And like you can develop your own functions and whatnot. So it's pretty handy. Longer term, this may help us to move the consumers of FeatureGate to Nimbus altogether, although this is a larger project. In the interim, this is about 200 lines of net code removal, so that seems useful in and of itself. Note that at least in the interim, the default value of a given FeatureGate must match the default value of its pref. which is determined at compile time. So this doesn't immediately yield more expressiveness. Example, we can't immediately filter on geo or other runtime characteristics. We'll likely investigate how to change this in the future. However, it does yield more expressiveness for where we expose features in this way, which is desirable, especially on non-nightly branches. Either way, this is about 200 lines of code removal. That sounds amazing. So let's check this out. Meanwhile, before I forget, like, is this building? So we passed linting. I guess we ran linting on Linux. And we're also going to lint on Windows. That's interesting. I wonder why we did those things. Clang format's happy, and then now these builds are cooking. These builds are a cooking. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so is there a stack of patches here? No, but for some reason this failed to apply. I'm open to figuring out a way of doing this via dependency injection, but this is just mimicking the code. Such as, I guess I'll read these comments in line actually, because I don't actually know what he's referring to. Before we read the comments, let's actually hide all of the. Can I hide all the comments? Hide all inlines. Let's just look at the patch and see what he's doing. So featuregate.sys.mjs, what does it do? So he's set up a bunch of lazy getters. Okay. And custom targeting. Okay. Default. So we define a property called default combined context, which we try and get the AS router targeting environment, and if we don't find it, we don't do anything, we just carry on. We get a targeting context, and we combine the contexts. Custom targeting, create a targeting context in the AS router env, and I guess it's okay. I don't know what a targeting context I don't know what a targeting context is. What is a targeting context? How do you combine context? Merge multiple targeting context objects without accidentally evaluating them. So you just create a proxy that for each context if we happen to find a property, we'll return the first one. Okay. Okay. I guess that's the thing we can do. And so this is just the empty object then. All right. And then we delete the default combined context on lazy. And then, oh, we delete ourselves and replace ourselves with this and return combined context. Isn't this doing the same thing as Chrome utils define lazy getter? I agree. That's a great question. I think that is what it's doing. And then get combined context. It will combine a bunch of contexts with the default combined context and return a new targeting context that of all the combined contexts. What? Okay. Okay. I don't fully know what that means, but let's keep reading. Build feature gate implementation. So for each of these target value keys, whether or not it's a default value or is public, we will evaluate the Jexel value with the definition. of default value and is public. Okay. And then we'll return the implementation with the definition. Same. So that became async. Okay. And then there's like a bunch of stuff here. These are the static things that we were checking before that I guess we can get rid of. Take a Jexel expression valued against the standard Nimbus context, extended with some additional properties defined in K custom targeting. True, false, if successful, or null if there was some problem with the Jexel expression, which will also log an error to the console. That's what we were using before. Yeah, okay. So we take the expression, all the contexts, we combine the contexts. What's this? Why do we need... is this leftover? I'm not sure what it's doing. We're just accessing targeting context. And then we will do context eval with default, the Jexel expression, and then make sure that what's returned is a Boolean. Well, is it a Boolean? Return a Boolean to true or false, or null if there was some problem. Yeah, okay. So that makes sense. And this is the part that was like evaluating these static facts. And then here's some implementations. Our FeatureGate implementation, we got rid of all of these. Seemed unused outside of tests, and I don't see when we would use them. Check what the default value of this FeatureGate would be on another browser with different facts, such as on another platform. Okay. Public is public original value. Well, I guess this is all related to who's calling these? Who is calling is public with? Who calls that? Who goes there? Just the test. So there's a test. These are like test-only functions. And then here is our Jexel expression. Some documentation at the top of the file describing each field will go a long way, because I imagine folks will get confused seeing strings or quoted bools where they would expect to see bools. Maybe even renaming these to is public expression and default value exper. Is public Jexel default public Jexel channel is public, channels nightly. Channels nightly, false. False. You should have quoted bools, but I don't see a better way of doing this. Yeah, that's fine. If the property name is default value exper or default value Jexel, I think it'll explain away that awkwardness. a bit. All right, and then generate feature definitions. Python has match? That's interesting. No, that default value text is public text. Nice. Fixed a typo. Public to false. Where are we? What is this? To generate the feature definitions. Oh, I see. So this, apparently this toml file will ultimately well, originally it was getting turned into something else, but I guess it's not actually happening anymore. Process configured file. Demo, is this a test? Yeah, test. Result. True default value. I guess if it sorry about that. That was my neighbor being neighborly. So that's good. Let's see here. Network. So in this case, I guess because null is probably being, or he's testing assert result, process file name, make test file path good, process files in file name. Is there one called, whoops, is there one called good? There is, and I already passed it. Minimal feature, oh, I see, doesn't set a default value. It defaults to is public false with no default value, okay. And then there's a bunch of the processing that you don't need anymore. More tests. Test. False. There's the minimal feature again. None. From good. This almost seems like the same thing. Results. JSON load output. Output from main. Okay. Is public. What? Add definition in a test. Definition is public equals definition is public, not test fact, or test fact. Otherwise, default value is not test fact or is test fact. Okay, I think I understand what's happening here. This is gonna ensure that test fact is, yeah, this office chair is falling apart. You have no idea. I've been using this since I was in school. It's all reliable. I mean, it's perfectly good. It seems to be good anyways. Equal feature default value would be false. Should be false because test fact was not provided. I think we removed that helper, so that makes sense. Is public false, and yeah, we removed that helper as well. And then here are some facts. Targeting facts. Evaluate checks, evaluate the targeting facts. True, false, true, false, true. Assert that that's true. Assert false. Assert false. Literal false should work. Boolean literal true should work. Equal, feature key, checks the value, false or true. Compound expressions work. False with false 2 or true 1 should be true. Non-existing terms, the expression get coerced to bool false. Await test fact is false. Test fact should be true. Providing test fact is true, the expression returns true. Okay. I'm reasonably happy with that. This seems fine to me. This seems good to me. Just a few notes, see below. Notes and suggestions. But otherwise, I'm generally happy with that. How are we doing? Did this thing build? This is brutal. I really expected us to actually be able to push the favicon stuff up and get it on Autoland, but it seems like this build won't be finished in time. But guess what, gang? I'm going to do it. When this build is finished and I'm going to run the favicon, async favicon thing through some paces, and then I'm going to queue it up for Autoland. And then hopefully it'll everything will be grand, and it'll merge, and then we've got the jump list is basically entirely off of the main thread, and then we can get those patches for removing the legacy backend hopefully reviewed. It looks like the builds went through. It builds correctly, so that's a really good sign. So maybe I just need to rebase those patches, send them over to my Windows machine here, and make sure that everything with the new backend still functions, and then we can get those up for review. And I might do that during my next stream on June 5th, because there's no real rush to remove the legacy backend. And maybe you'd enjoy watching that. And then we can work on something new. Maybe we'll work on something completely different. Hey, thanks for watching episode 366 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. Let me know what you thought. There's a link here in the agenda to send me your feedback. If there's stuff you want to see, stuff you don't want to see, maybe there's a question you want answered, or I can try answering it on the stream, send it in, and you can send it in with this form. Link to rate this episode. I'm just gonna drop the link into the chat. I read everything that comes in. I really appreciate it when people write in, because it lets me know that what's working and what's not working. So please do that if you have a quick second. And that's it. And I will see you on June 5th, where episode 367 will hopefully air, presuming I don't get sick or something. So stay tuned. And with that, I'll call it. Have yourselves a great couple of weeks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.